Hi, so today I'm going to do a video that you probably didn't expect, which is me endorsing a product. I know, at 100,000 subscribers, Lewis has finally sold out for money, is going to start endorsing products that you should buy. Well, no, that's not something I really plan on doing, but I'm going to make one exception for my dad. My dad wrote a book recently, and I've been kind of a shitty son with this. It's taken me 6 months to read this. And the reason it's taken me 6 months to read this book, that my dad got professionally published, not self-published. He went through all the channels and he jumped through all the hoops to get a book professionally published, is because this book is about baseball. And baseball, I mean, how do I put this? I feel the same way about baseball that my dad feels about component-level logic board repair and troubleshooting of RTC circuits. It's not something that I find entertaining. I'm probably going to offend people with this, but baseball is like one of the few sports that exists where you just look and you're watching, and 90% of the people that you are watching are not doing anything at any given time. It's a sport that watching, much less playing, just puts me to sleep in a way that to me it's boring. So I thought, as much as I love my dad, reading a book about baseball was just going to suck. But I actually sat down and started reading it, and it's not that bad. And there are some lines in this book that just remind me of the fact that I guess my dad and I are related. So just to go over some of the things in this book, for example, when I talk about things like giving up in the last video, it was a time when finishing what one started was the rule rather than the exception. Or there are some other lines in this book, because here's one of the things about this book. It's not baseball as in, here are the stats, here is the player, this year, this person won by this percentage, his batting average was this person's batting average was that. I was expecting this book to be boring as hell. But my dad's actually a really, really good storyteller, much better than I am. And there's some good stuff in this book. Let me just read you some of it. The 7th game of that series fell on a Monday, and at the time, I was working in a small office with 6 or 7 other employees. When my boss arrived, he announced that one of us had to entertain some important clients that evening. He owned season tickets for the football Giants, and he thought it would be a privileged game to attend because it was going to be televised on Monday Night Football. No one wanted to go, and as he walked around the room seeking volunteers, the excuses, some transparently flimsy and others obviously real, were beginning to get under his skin. Finally, looking at me, the newest employee and therefore low man on the totem pole, he demanded that I attend the game, like it or not. Imagine his surprise, and this is where, again, I realized that my dad and I are indeed related. Imagine his surprise when I defied him and said, "I'm not going!" When he asked why, I replied, "Because I'm going to the 7th game of the World Series." My best friend Marilyn had been given the tickets by her boss, who was out of town as the result of an unexpected emergency. I remember when she called me and asked if I wanted to go. To this day, I still owe her. Most of the game's details have escaped my memory. However, I do recall the Mets tying the game in the 6th inning after trailing 3-0 and taking the lead in the 7th with another 3-run inning. The Shea Stadium speakers played Queen's We Will Rock. I can't sing, fuck that. And 55,000 fans were going absolutely crazy. The noise was deafening and you could actually feel the stadium shaking. My friend and I were yelling and screaming, jumping up and down, banging our seats, laughing and crying, all seemingly at the same time. The euphoria was a once-in-a-lifetime, indescribable, and the celebration lasted long after the Mets had won. Oh, there's some other lines in here that are pretty good. For example, like his grandma followed different teams in baseball than he did. And again, I don't know any of these baseball rivalries because I don't fucking follow baseball. But still, again, where I just know that my dad is related to me. Part of being a baseball fan is that the winner takes delight in the loser's misery. That Tuesday, the day after yet another Red Sox disappointment, Grandma B knew she was going to hear from her New York grandson. Though she was in her 80s, I would show little mercy. The elderly, the helpless, the naive, the young, no one can escape the sting of the winner's tongue. And Grandma sure knew her baseball. And the thing is, he tells the story of baseball in terms of what was going on at the time. He talks about what was going on in the world. He talks about what was going on in the economy. He talks about all these things that have nothing to do with baseball, so that somebody like me, who hates baseball, who has absolutely no interest in baseball, again, I don't think baseball is wrong. There's nothing wrong about it. By all means, enjoy baseball, but I find baseball boring as shit. And he was able to captivate me for all of... Wow, I can't believe I read all this. 166 pages. So, again, I love my dad, but if this book sucked, that's why it took 6 months. If this book sucked, I wouldn't be able to, to make a video about it and say that it's something that if you're into baseball, you should take a look at. But it doesn't suck. And again, my dad's going to watch this video, and the next time I visit him, he's going to kick me in the balls. I'm sorry, Dad, but if this book sucked, I wouldn't have read it, and I wouldn't be here making a video about it. But it was really well written. And again, my dad is really, really good at telling stories, and he's had a lot of life experience. He's had a lot of different jobs. He's worked in finance. He started as a low-level cook after he decided to change careers at these crappy restaurants. He went on to work at the Plaza Hotel. He's done a lot of cool things, and he's done a lot of shifts over the course of his life. And one of his lifelong dreams, was to write a book. We used to have a room in our house when I was younger called the library, and it wasn't a room where he just decorated it with books that he never reads so he looked smart. He put books in there that he actually read front to back, and it was always his dream to publish a real novel. And it took him years to write this, and he was talking about it to me every single day. But he finally managed to publish, and professionally publish, his own novel, and, it doesn't suck. And I feel bad for saying this, I really do. I was expecting this to suck. You don't understand, this has been sitting on my couch for the past 6 months because it's about baseball, I expected it to suck. And it didn't suck. And it was really interesting reading this book because, again, I got to, I talk to my dad on a regular basis. I have an idea of who he is. I know who he is. But reading this book just kind of really reinforced to me that in many ways, we are indeed the same person. And it was just cool reading it. So yeah, this is probably the only product endorsement I will ever do because it is for my dad, who wrote an amazing book, and I'm quite proud of him. So if you're into baseball, it's called Another Time, Another Place. His name is Stu Rossman, and it's on Amazon. And that's that for today.